United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will have a roll call.
Mayor Hassler.
Here.
Alderman Grimminger.
Here.
Alderman Mooney.
He's ready to go.
Alderman Donovan.
Here.
Alderman Jokers.
Here.
Alderman Hook. Alderman Stupi.
Here.
Alderman Prince.
Come on.
Alderman Ruzicka.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Very good. I guess we have a quorum, so we'll look at the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. We have some personal appearances. First of all, there she is, Kara from Downtime Renewal, and Kim are going to address the board of the upcoming Scottish Festival. So if you all could come up to the podium, please.
Evening.
Evening.
Hi guys. Sorry we haven't been here in a while. Just to let you know, I have stepped back to vice president of the organization. Jen Morrell is the new president of the organization. But she and I discussed, she lives in the county, so I think she's going to kind of take on county. And since I'm in the city, I'm going to still try and come and be here. But burning the candle at both ends quite a lot lately. So we're here to talk about Scottish Festival. It's a new event we're bringing in this year. This is Kim Gordon. He owns the Darkroom Company downtown, and he brought this event to our board, and we decided to take it on. I'm going to let him talk about the background and what's going on that day, and then I've got some other stuff for you.
Before I get started, there's a long list of different last names over there on that board. I'm going to leave it here for a while, and those are all last names that have some association with the Scottish community. I think you'll see it's quite extensive. Brief history of Scottish Days. April 6th is a national recognized holiday called Tartan Day. George W. signed it into law during his administration. And April 6th is really an acknowledgement of the significant role the Scots played in the foundation of this country. One of the things that is important about April 6th is in the year 1320, believe it or not, on April 6th, the Scots basically declared their independence from England and presented a document to the Pope. If you take that document and you set it next to the Declaration of Independence here in the United States, you will see that there's a great deal of similarities because many of the founding fathers were of Scottish descent. So that's what Tartan Day is all about. We've named it Scottish Days. It will be a 2-day event. It will be composed of a wide variety of Scottish clans. So the way the Scots worked in their day is that each large family had a number of the last names that were associated with that large family. They were known as Scottish clans. Right now we've got 14 signed up to come join us, and then we've got another 20 or so that are just simply showing up for the parade that we will have on Saturday. We'll have bagpipe bands, so if you need, we'll issue some earplugs if that's required. Scottish folk dancers. Main stage will be a band called Highland Rain, who has an international following. So we're not quite sure how that's going to play out, but we've already heard from people as far away as Omaha, Nashville, Kansas City, and Iowa, Little Rock. So we seem to be striking a chord in the region about this event. What's working to our advantage is there's been 2 other events that have folded in the last 10 years, so there is nothing in the Midwest that serves the April 6th Tartan Day festivities. So it's going to be interesting. If you ask me on any given day, I'll give you a different number on what I'm predicting in terms of participation, but it's large. We don't know what that number is, but right now our conjectures are anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 people that we'll bring into that town. And Kara's going to talk about the impact we're seeing already on the B&Bs. We will have what's known as a Caylay on both Friday night and Saturday night. A Caylay is Gaelic for folk festival, so once again, please come out. This is what's wonderful about that, it's a free event. Scottish vendors, Scottish reenactors, Scottish family parade on Saturday, and then a traditional calling of the Scottish clans on Saturday night. So we've got it rounded out. We've got a lot of folks that have been helping. We've got tapped into a large management team that was with the previous events in St. Louis and St. Charles. And so far all the dominoes need to be falling into place. And I think we've got we've got a hit on our hands, at least I hope so.
We also are going to be having like the actual Highland Games. So right now we have
Oh, I'm sorry, I
25.
missed that, yeah.
We have 25 athletes actually scheduled, so they're going to actually be doing it. And I just talked to the gentleman that's heading that up today, and there will be a novice part for it on Sunday. So if you want to try your hand at
Throwing the telephone ball.
yes,
Yeah.
throwing the capers,
Yeah.
you can come out and do that on Sunday. So it should be a pretty entertaining, neat event. So just to give you, honestly, I'm shocked at the feedback that we've gotten on this event. We've reached 155 million people on Facebook. The event alone. Now that's not saying that many people have said they're coming or whatever, but that's it has shown up in their feed
It's
on
traveling the
Facebook.
world.
So
The event is traveling the world.
I mean, it's huge.
So what happened with the other events?
So the St. Charles Games was simply mismanagement, and the Kansas City Games, they got themselves too deep into financial struggle because they wanted to be a pipe band event, and pipe bands aren't cheap. And one year they had 10 pipe bands to the tune of about $3,000 a piece, and they just never recovered financially. So we won't do anything like that. We'll only have one pipe band and then a handful of pipers that will be strolling the grounds. But a competitive pipe band event is an extremely costly event. Let's hope we have that problem in 5 years, but we're not going to have it for at least the foreseeable future.
Our goal initially was about 5,000 to 7,000 people. Again, who knows? We don't know. I contacted all the VRBOs and bed and breakfast in town today, and Microtel only has one room left on Saturday night. There is a wedding that have blocked 25 rooms for that, and if those aren't booked 2 weeks in advance, they will open those up for the public too. Somewhere in Time is full. White Cliff Manor only has 2 rooms left. Main Street Inn is over half capacity, and St. John Beauvais only has 2 rooms left. So we're already seeing the impact for that weekend, and several of the bed and breakfast owners have already said these people are coming in for Scottish days. Not that necessarily every person that is, but we're 6 weeks out still. Well, not quite 6 weeks. We're almost a month out, and we're already seeing the impact. So that's really good. Yeah, it's truly taken a life of its own.
Yeah.
So then the other thing that we just are putting out there, we are putting together program guides, which they're going to be half this size. So they'll only be this big, but we're putting together program guides, and we are selling sponsorships within the program guides, and so that is how we are funding a lot of this event. The event itself is costing about $14,000. So we have to look at how we are financing all of that. So a lot of that money is going to come from selling the ads and stuff that we have in there. I've already talked with Chief a little bit about what we need as far as parking in the parade and those things, so we're on point with those. I didn't know what the city ordinance was on the fire pits. If they have self-contained fire pits for down there, is that okay? What do we need to get for that to happen? Of course, if it's a burn ban at that time,
There is a city
we'll cross that bridge.
on fire pits, and I can, after the meeting,
Okay, cool.
tomorrow I can give it to you, but for an
Okay.
event, and it's different than somebody putting a
Okay.
fire pit out in their backyard, because
Sure.
all it has to do with proximity to structures and
Okay.
hours and that kind of stuff, so it's
And
not
I
going to be a
probably
problem.
didn't do it justice, but all of the activities will be at Moses Austin Park, and outside of the parade. The parade will be the perimeter of the historical area.
So whatever, we can accommodate what you want to do in cooperation with the fire chief, we can work it out.
Okay.
Cool.
And we also are working on the emergency response plan too. One of the guys that's on our committee works for the conservation department in the forestry, and so he, it is spring. We could have, a flood pop up if that happens. So we're looking at that and making sure the vendors know that it isn't a flash flood area zone in case something would happen. But we're going to have gorgeous weather and have 10,000 people in town that weekend. So, any questions? Go ahead.
Food and drink vendors?
So we have, yes, we will have, right now, we're asking Valley Pork Burgers also, but we have, I think 6 vendors
Yeah,
confirmed for the food.
For food.
For food, and then we have like 5 or 6 vendors for artisans that are bringing traditional Scottish stuff, but some of them are like, 5 booths long. They're pretty big booths.
To answer your
So-
unspoken question, there will be a kilt vendor.
Yeah, and then we have several beer vendors that are coming in too, with a Scottish ale, and we're gonna have a Scottish ale competition to vote for the best Scottish ale. And so I've talked with Chief about that. We'll have that sectioned off with the beer garden and whatnot too. So
Should be entertaining.
The food vendors, are they gonna have Scottish food?
That's what we're leading to.
we're hoping, and we're hoping all the restaurants through town also, if any of the restaurants in town are serving something Scottish, that will be highlighted in our program guide.
Is there going to be haggis available?
Of course there will.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Are you a haggis eater?
I've always wanted to try it.
Yeah, I have tried it.
Track me down.
Yeah. So
That's why they're Scotch.
that's the other side that we are doing. We are hiring the trolley to
Mixture stuff.
one, get people to the event because they're going to be having to park throughout downtown, and so it'll be picking up people, taking them to the event, but it's also going to help them get around through downtown to go to the shops. We're going to have the downtown shop of maps in the program guide and that thing, so that it hopefully will have an impact on everything. But again, we're already seeing impact on the bed tax and stuff for the event, so we definitely need some more help with sponsorship and money to pull off the event. So we have anything from a $20 donation up to a full page ad at $175. So if you know anybody that would be interested in helping us keep the event, that's the one thing, is we want to keep it free. A lot of people are asking on Facebook if it's a free event, because traditionally they're not, and so they're very excited that we're trying to keep it a free event. So
What's the date again?
April 7th and 8th. So we're gonna, and I've talked with Gary too, we're gonna use the city tent, and the trash cans from Georgia Fed. We've got the trash already, sponsored to be down there. We've got porta potties down there. I think we've got all of the bases covered, so.
On March 23rd, we're having what we call a kilt night. It's always tradition to kind of generate interest in an event like this just prior. And that's a Friday night. We'll be starting at Audubon's, and the piper that's joining us has been consistently one of the top 3 bagpipe pipers, as rated by a very formal conference in Scotland for the last 5 years running. So we're really attracting some incredible talent for this thing.
And we have-
all we need is some decent weather, so keep thinking.
And we have, the t-shirts are for sale too on our Facebook page. The link is on that piece of paper he just handed around too. So they're there for the event as well.
So any other questions? I know you have a busy agenda, so.
Well, I have been to Scottish festivals before, in both the city of St. Louis, St. Charles, and this sounds perfect to me.
I think St. Genevieve is an absolutely perfect venue. It's beautifully located. We're far enough out of St. Louis, we're far enough out of Cape that we will be pulling audiences from a region as opposed to just the St. Louis area. It's very interesting to see the numbers start to collect in.
And when it hit Facebook, my sister called me right away. Give me a room for her and 2 of her friends for this event.
So they are coming, because I heard from that bed and breakfast owner, and he said,
Yeah.
this is the mayor's sister, so I don't know that she's coming for that or if she's
No,
coming
she's
to
coming
visit.
for that.
So I'll let
Her
him
and her friend
know.
are coming
Then-
for that.
You don't think
Then,
they'd come see,
then
No, they ain't coming to see me.
that B&B is sold out because of the Scottish Festival. That's
Yeah.
been confirmed,
Yeah,
then.
that
So
is.
that's great.
All right, cool. Well, hope to see you there, and anybody that needs a kilt, give me a heads up. I'll take care of you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all very much.
I couldn't wear that on the golf course. but that's-
No, yeah, you could if you wanted. Jennifer, you're next. How are you this evening?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you for coming.
You want me to tell you about the banners?
The banners, that's what you're here for.
Yes. I want to see if it's okay if we put them up from the walkway on Progress Parkway. So, and the city pays for nothing, the parents are paying for everything. You guys have, they're gonna be pictures like this. That'll be on there. And it's any active military branch that will be on the banners. I do have a question. I know that some of the poles along the walkway are in a residential area. And I don't think the banners can be hung there
Or
without,
are we we're talking on progress, the city lights that are,
yes. And there's
problem
no,
I have with those, there's a problem with those lights, they're fiberglass. And I went over there by the nursing home, it's the same lights, and shook it, and I don't know if they're gonna be sturdy enough to do what we wanna do there with these banners.
okay,
I know Gary had talked to me about that, so I went and checked that.
yeah,
I would be afraid that in a windstorm or wind, that light would do, they're not very sturdy. Now that one, I guess they're all like that. They're all fiberglass, so. And I love the idea of the banners, but
right.
I've also had a conversation, and Martin's gonna talk about with citizens, because we're limited to what we can hang on poles now.
Well, I had
That wouldn't relate to those poles.
No, because.
No, that doesn't relate.
Right.
The issue with those poles is they're weak.
Okay, and I had talked to the electric company as well, and the gentleman told me that I guess there's certain poles downtown in the historic district that they could not be hung on, but the gentleman told me to get poles with the pole numbers if I needed to use poles.
Yeah.
And he didn't see an issue because there had to be a clearance from the
Right,
ground and from the top, and I understood that.
Yeah.
So
There are 4 poles in the city, we found out, that can accommodate banners.
really,
I have a
We'll talk about it when I report.
yeah, we'll talk about with Martin's report. I just can't see
Okay.
that. With what we went with him yesterday, and what I've seen right here on, I just can't believe that. But we'll talk, Martin's gonna talk about that.
okay.
So,
What kind of material is this?
It's gonna be like you know how you see like the little signs and stuff like that? It's gonna be like a cloth is what it's gonna be like, and it's gonna be double-sided is what it would be. And then they would come with the hooks that would hook onto the poles. And I don't know how much they weigh because there was 3 different companies I went through, and there's actually a lady who has a son that's in the military that works for a company that gave us a really good deal on the banners. And they're 2 foot by 4 foot, so I don't know how much, you know, the prongs will weigh. I would assume they don't weigh that much.
no.
I wouldn't think so. Is it like a vinyl?
Yeah, it's gonna be like a vinyl,
And that's not the issue, the weight on those poles. It's this.
right,
It's the wind.
The wind.
Because it acts like a sail.
Yeah, it's gonna act like a sail.
right.
Right. Yeah. I wonder if there's a way you could make them so that they swing, so they don't catch the wind, but then they're probably gonna get all
Oh,
bottomed up
they'll
if
be
you
just
do
tore
that.
up then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're hard to,
Well, you may-
I mean, I think it's a great idea. I'm all for anything that honors.
right. We have a
military.
lot of kids
Yeah.
that are in the military here.
Right,
And a lot of people don't know that at all.
right.
So,
put that
Right.
on there. You
And then-
replacing lines.
You all would maintain these two then?
absolutely. And then if someone was to get out of the military, then it's our job to take that banner down.
Switch them.
They're only for active military and
Sure.
that is it.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be a son or a daughter, it can be a husband, a wife, you know, a dad, it doesn't matter, as long as they're active.
So you just advertise, see who wants to participate, or
Well-
how would that work?
I had some on Facebook, but I'm sure that's why I was concerned about the polls, because once people started seeing them, they're gonna be like, okay, well, how do I get one of those? And they're gonna call down and talk to Carla or Pam or somebody. So that's why I was concerned about the limited number of polls, because I already have 22 parents.
Right, well, that's what I was
You know, I need 2 flags, there's other parents that need two banners and stuff like that.
And there's how many poles?
There's 17, I think is what Martin,
In the commercial
in the commercial
Zone.
zone.
area.
And
But you
that,
know, we can always, I mean, assuming there's some way we can put a flag on that pole without jeopardizing the structure,
Right.
you know, we could figure out a way to put them on additional poles if we can.
right,
It would be a special use permit in a residential zone district.
Where's the residential area out there?
Those
Well,
apartments?
at the creek line.
Everything,
Oh,
The
no,
creek- is it not?
everything comes into, all newly developed property comes into the books as residential. Then the city rezoned commercial for
oh,
the community center and where Klein's building is and where the water park is going, and, but, you know, the balance is just what it was when it came into the city.
Okay.
And we'll rezone it based on somebody's intended use.
Okay. So when you say double-sided, one person on each side, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you're coming from this way or that way, it'll be on the same thing.
So we need permission for this, or what are we doing here?
Let's really try to figure out where you put it.
Yeah, at this point, it sounds like the issue is
We think it's a great idea, it's just
Yeah.
placement,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's why I called the electric company, and then that's when the guy, he's like, well, just go get numbers off poles, because I live on St. Mary's Road.
Right.
And I know that it's a historic district. I think Carla and I figured out about 5 or 6 houses before me. So that only leaves like 3 poles on that street, and that's it.
Well, that's gonna be our issue with
Right.
the meeting we had yesterday with citizens is, so, but they give us some specs, and I
The
think,
issue here, I think, is whether there's anything we can attach to those poles safely.
yeah,
And I don't have an answer to that question.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not
Where is
sure.
this located?
Not entirely sure how to get the answer.
This,
This one here.
this is actually from a Marine mom that is in my Marine group that I'm in, and she lives in Iowa.
Oh, okay.
But there's other towns in Missouri that actually have these, and they stay up year
Is it
round.
possible to get a sample without anything on it that we can attach to a pole?
I
Give
can-
us some kind of trial period to see how it works?
Or I'll just buy one. I mean,
Okay.
I don't mind buying one at all.
I mean, if we go through the spring, I hate to put you off, but if we go through a windy period
Uh-huh,
with something like that you're going to use and just see how it affects the pole, that would be a possible route to go to eventually get you where you want to go.
okay. I'll do, I don't mind.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'll talk to the lady who has them, and then I'll just order one.
Okay,
And I'll also see if there's almost, instead of like a heavy piece to hold the flag, hold the banners on, see if there's something lighter that, you know, if it is real windy, it's not
well,
gonna.
I don't think that's gonna be the issue.
You don't?
The mounting bracket's not gonna be the issue, it's the sail it's gonna create when the wind hits it just right.
Yeah.
On the
Okay.
I
pole.
mean, I'm going to call it a banner,
Uh-huh.
have slots in it, so slits in it, so the wind passes through rather than catching it.
Okay.
Those usually tear more easily, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't see what that's.
Well, that's why I was thinking if it hung, maybe you had it weighted on the bottom. It would move, let the air, air through, and
That's a
then,
thought, yeah.
but then the weight would hold it, That's a thought. Because I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think everybody's
Yeah.
agreeing with you.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, it's
That's
just-
why I was so nervous to come down
Oh, don't
here.
be
Oh, no,
nervous.
nothing to be nervous about.
So let's say we can't hang them on those poles out there, why can't we come up with some other just independent poles to put them on?
We'll talk about it. There's,
We've got some poles,
yeah.
but we got, you talking about poles from Holson.
Well, yeah,
We were given poles and lights that Holson was going to use in their parking lot, and they're 35 feet tall, and they had to pour a concrete base and put the bolts in. So it would be,
I meant just-
it would be a project.
Right, I meant just out on Progress Parkway, putting up a wooden pole and stuff just specifically for these signs, that'll hold them. Forget the light poles and stuff and put them on just,
Okay.
it's all possibility. We just gotta work through it.
I just don't want, well, I don't want the city or anybody to have to fork out any money for these. That's my biggest thing, because we're such a small town that if I can make it work on one of those poles, I'd rather do that, so we're not out any money. That's why the parents are paying for everything. The city, they don't have to put the banners up, we're gonna do that by ourselves and everything, because I didn't want that to be an issue, that there was money.
That's another issue though,
Yeah,
with putting the banners up, because you're gonna be up above a certain, what we want it to be done right and safely.
Right.
So we'll have to have a little bit of say-so, because the city does bear some, I'm sure, some financial responsibility doing that on a pole, because it's city property, and so we have to,
They'd have to have the clearance required on.
well, I'm talking about just
the
installing them
sidewalk
too,
side.
in a bucket truck or whatever, to do that and to be safe.
well, I have someone who was gonna donate that, Amber.
Great, so that,
So,
as long as they're
yeah.
doing, I think we can get that done, that's fantastic. So we gotta find a place to put them.
And
How many of them there are there?
I have 22 already.
22 already?
And I posted this on Facebook, I want to say in October, and I was kind of nervous to come on TV. Pam knows. And so that's why I kind of put it off. But I want to get this done so, you know, these people can be acknowledged because
Right.
they need to be.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right? And I'll let you know when I have those in, so then I can bring it into one of the meetings and you
And
guys.
one.
Just one?
Yes.
Well, I'll order two because I have two kids.
Sure, sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. We have Jimmy Donzie here. Hey, Jimmy. It's our municipal band president.
I'd like to say that we had a very successful season in 17. We managed to play all 10 concerts. We also played 4 Saturdays in St. John down across from the Audubon. And we played at Parkwood, Roger?
Three at downtown and one at Park.
3 at downtown and 1 at Parkwood. We met last week. We're going to continue to do 3 Saturdays in St. Genevieve for the Sandra Cabot, and we talked about rotating from nursing home to nursing home each year, so there's not just one nursing home getting the music benefit from the German band. I failed to mention last year that we had started a Facebook page, and this will be our 3rd year with that. The last thing I have for you guys is when we met, we talked about the grant program. We're making a few changes to that, and it's not real big changes. We're changing the dates that we meet to 3 times a year instead of 4, based on the past several years of grant applications that have come in. It's usually the same group of people every year that apply for the grants. So instead of meeting in March, June, July, and September, we're going to change them to April 1st, July 1st, and October 1st. And those dates will meet the criteria of all the dates that or the events that are going on in St. John that the people do apply for. The other thing on the grant program we're changing is we had some confusing issues with our recipients as far as the money and when they received their check. So what we decided to do, we're getting some more signs printed up, because one of the requirements of the grant program is they come and get a sign and they display it, and it says sponsored in part by the St. Genevieve Muni Band. We are now going to, after we have approved of what they're going to get, we're going to email them, let them know what they've been approved for, and at that time let them know where they can pick up the sign instead of picking it up at City Hall. And then they will not get their check for their event until 3 to 5 days afterwards when they return the sign. And that's basically all I have for the Muni Band report. Any
None of this
questions?
requires board action. It's just reporting on what they're doing.
Any questions?
How many times did you have to play Pack Center? Or did you do that?
We played
Once before, a couple of years ago, and then last year we played outdoors. We played indoors and it didn't work out so well.
Yeah, I was wondering about
Yeah,
that.
it was too loud.
Yeah, I bet it was.
But outdoors, it was a bigger turnout, and a lot of people had their families come and just
So you set up underneath the...
on the awning, we had a portal awning.
Oh, okay.
We borrowed it.
we did play 2 concerts at the Pack Center this past year because of the heat.
That's what I
Pat
was
said
wondering.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pack,
Yeah, at the PAC Center, yeah, we did 2 concerts up there because of the heat.
Yeah,
Because it was supposed to be, with the heat index, it was supposed to be well over 105, so we just decided that if we could move it to the PAC Center, we would do that.
Did the crowd follow you up there?
The crowd at the PAC Center isn't as big as what we get at the schoolyard.
No, because I go to almost all of them whenever I can. Usually, I think people enjoy it more outside.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's always a great show. You guys do a great job.
How many you got here? How many members? That's quite a few.
70. We limit it to 70.
And very, very few concerts do we actually have 70 there the whole time, because there's some people, you know, with
Right.
vacations and this
Right.
and that, there's people that don't play every concert, but the most we'll ever have is 70. Got trouble with that. People left.
You guys do like Veterans Day and
Yeah,
Memorial Day.
Day at the Vets Hall.
Mhm. Yeah, that's always good stuff.
It's pretty neat turnout there.
All right, if you have any more questions, we'll move on. Roger, you have something to say?
No.
Oh, okay,
Just, as he was asking me a question,
okay.
I thought I'd stand up here.
Well, yeah.
It's a body.
So you like,
Bodyguard.
who is your board?
The board members consist of myself as president, Roger as vice president, Jim Baker as treasurer, and Nancy Fisher as secretary.
You know, it's the library.
Jim Baker, the one that lives in Florida?
Mhm.
But he comes home for every concert.
He comes home for quite a bit during the summer.
Yeah, well, that's good, that's cool.
Sometimes he even plays in the band.
Okay, that's neat.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
I believe our city administrator's report is next.
Okay, some interesting things have happened since we last met, and I passed out 2 documents to you that reflect information we received at meetings we had with Citizens Electric. That's this one.
Yeah.
That's this one.
We have one of these. Oh, I didn't know he brought us one.
And this is information that was submitted from the joint member with the meeting with the chamber and the IDC over housing. First, I attended the levy district meeting. Carl Wiener brought it to our attention that the Burlington Northern Railroad was removing crossings, and it was brought up at the board meeting, and they removed the crossing on the road that you go down Marina Road and you go down across the tracks to go up to the pump station. They removed that crossing, and more crossings south of there.
Why?
You're talking to the wrong guy.
Because they can.
We had a meeting
Bingo.
where UP told us that there was a federal mandate for them to remove as many crossings as they could because of safety reasons. But I can't say, I don't know.
Remove them for safety reasons.
Yeah,
That's
they
what
want
they
as few conflicts
Collisions.
with cars crossing the railroad tracks as they can possibly have.
I was
But
told
if you
that,
remove them, doesn't it make it easier to get across?
You can't drive your car
You can't
across.
drive your car across them.
they're removing the crossing.
Oh, the crossings, I thought you meant the crossing.
No.
Okay,
crossing.
all right,
Pulling up the concrete.
okay.
Yeah, they move
Gotcha.
across.
This doesn't
All right.
affect UP, but I was told Burlington was removing most of theirs so that they can obviously show less amount of crossings, and they can increase their speed at that point so
Except
that they can move
I still
more
think there's a
trains
speed
through.
limit. We were told there's a speed limit inside the city limits,
10,
10 miles an hour.
And who's gonna enforce that?
You know, that's good.
they
Eric.
do.
Eric,
Eric,
because I guarantee you Burlington Northern's going through their.
I'm gonna set out spike strips.
The president of the board had a conversation in Burlington Northern and said, somebody told him that they would be putting that one back, but not to count on it being there long-term. So the levy district is going to start working elected officials, Corps of Engineers, whatever, because obviously that's their access to maintain the pump station.
That's a critical access.
And if we, and while you can go around in dry conditions, if we have flood conditions and the detention area is full of water, so that's going to be addressed. After our last meeting, I called the Corps and tried to get the best date I could, and it ended up being March 1st at 10 o'clock here, which I know for John was not good, and for others it was good.
Not good for me either.
So the second meeting we had was with the Chamber and the IDC, and they had been meetings with home builders, suppliers, real estate agents, employers, because there was this sense that one of the problems about growth in our community is the lack of adequate, when I say affordable, I don't mean inexpensive housing, but housing in a range where folks who work can afford it. The custom builders all say they're busy, but they're building $350,000 and up houses, and that there seems to be nobody building that 150 to 225 range. And they were wondering, and that causes problems because when the employers try to attract people, they end up not being able to find housing of a nature that they would like to live in for the price they can afford. And so they end up locating outside of the county. So they're living in Festus and Farmington and wherever, even though they're working for St. Genevieve employers. So the idea is what can be done to change that condition. And this is a list of things that they came up with. They invited us because the question is, what can the city do? I spoke for you, and I said, I think I can speak for the board. If anybody has a proposal for the development of new housing inside the city limits, this board is going to bend over backwards to accommodate them. We are not difficult to deal with, but we do enforce our building codes. So if you want to build a house that doesn't conform with the International 2012 Building Code, I can't help you. But we're not going to make it hard for you as long as you're willing to build according to those standards. And I don't know, I got a sense they were surprised to hear that.
That's what I got.
That's the way it's always been. But they were thankful. Now, they were talking about funding some kind of program to help with infrastructure, upfront infrastructure cost and other things. And I reminded them that we struggle every year to do the essential things we have to do in the city, like fix roads, and that there really aren't any source of funds to create a loan pool or some kind of infrastructure pool, even if it gets paid back after a developer develops it. But there are ways to do those kinds of things, and it would require board action. There's something called a neighborhood improvement district, and while I am against doing neighborhood improvement districts for new developments, it has been done, and it can get roads, water, and sewer put in through a debt instrument that's paid back by the owners of the improved real estate over some amortization period. So if somebody had a significant project and wanted to do it, that might be something they could consider. The next meeting we had was with Citizens Electric. We heard a little bit about that meeting in our earlier conversation with Jennifer. That's this. Citizens Electric informed us that in order to comply with the National Electric Safety Code, which is not the International Electric Code that we have for residential and commercial, it's the Suppliers Code, that there are standards for the placement of things like banners on the poles, and that we in St. Genevieve cannot meet these standards with our Christmas decorations or any other banners or displays on the poles, and that in the interest of safety, the Citizens is asking that we discontinue doing that but not right away, that they understand that we have a desire to have Christmas decorations, and have agreed to cooperate on putting up the decorations as we have next year, but they want that to be the last year,
This year,
this year. Well,
2018.
Next year, next Christmas.
So our decorations downtown, after this, they're going to put them up for us, but they violate their new, because all our decorations are up in here, which is a safety issue with trying to get people up there in the wires to put up Christmas decorations. So their thought was that, hey, we're going to have some grace period. That's not only us, it was Bloomsdale, Frona, and there was one other one that they're enforcing all this with. Fruitland, I think. So what we're going to do is, this year coming up,
You said Perryville's already moved their decorations off the poles, so it's not an issue.
we're just
there.
going to have to get a little bit more creative and it's going to be difficult, but it's just, it's the way it is, so.
Any questions about that? Because I can only tell you what I know.
So
Okay.
the ones that the chamber has been putting up or had been up on, those are all in violation too, I'm sure.
There's no room on the poles. There are 4 new poles in the city that you've seen going up in lead that might qualify. To 2 of the 4, he said.
2 of the
might
4.
Qualify.
Yeah.
And the other, the solution is, well, let's put up some taller poles. At $5,000 a pole, that sounds like a good idea.
I thought it was more than that.
Whatever.
Yeah, it was high.
8. I recommended, and I think that while we all enjoy the Christmas decorations, and there are other stakeholders who have an interest in this, who like the chamber and like the Net Rolf with the Christmas festival, and that maybe we need the downtown revitalization, and maybe we need to get these folks together, tell them the situation we have, and see if we can craft a solution that everybody is in agreement with. That you're not going to be happy, but because you're happy with what you had, but and so the mayor may have to initiate this ad hoc committee to consider the options.
We will.
I was at a meeting where a citizen said, I remember reading about this property maintenance thing, and you're going to make people fix up their properties. What's going on with that? So I thought I would bring that back to your attention. We have a list. There are 216 properties on it. I think I've reported this to you before. Some of them are minor, just paint and things. Many of them, 100 plus of those, are something that require action. Carla and I talked about it, and we didn't think asking somebody in December to paint their house was an appropriate time to do that. So we're looking forward to issuing the initial letters in the middle of next month, in the middle of March. Carla and Bob are going to put the list in priority order, so the worst ones are at the top. And our first step is going to send out letters saying, this is the code, this is what the condition, please advise us your plans to mitigate the violations, see how many we can get who will work with us on a voluntary basis. We'll give them time. We just want a plan. Just tell us what your plan is. And we hope to develop a contingency for those who can demonstrate a need. I just can't afford it. Then outside of city government, hopefully will be a group that will consider how they can help them. At the end of it, there will be those who just refuse to cooperate, and that will end up with the issuance of a citation, and it will go before the municipal court. We talked a little about Rozier. Who brought up Rozier? Randy? Yeah.
I brought it up.
2008 was the year it was built. It was a 4-inch asphalt overlay on a 10-inch base. As you know, with asphalt, it's all about the base. So in some places, it was 10 inches.
There's a song in there somewhere.
Yeah, it was 10 inches. But that would be at the intersections with the state highway, because you got to beef up for the state. It isn't failing, I mean, but it is, the surface is cracking, I mean, and it's getting moisture in it through those cracks. And so one of the things we might consider as we're deciding how to spend the money that's available to us is whether you want to do a thin overlay just for surface preservation. Again, we're not having to save the road at this point, but you do need to preserve the surface. You can preserve it with an overlay, you can preserve it with a chip and seal, you know, there are different things we can do. But
Well, it would be nice to see something to keep it from deteriorating,
that's,
I think that's
because
gonna
the
be,
end cost would be worse.
Charlotte, we're gonna be talking about roads.
Right.
Because we're gonna, not this meeting, but we're gonna have some discussion on what roads we're gonna fix this year.
Heavily trafficked street, you
Right.
know?
So,
What about the crack filling, is that an option?
yeah.
Maybe that's too late for that, I don't know.
No, I mean, you can, it's just, it's an option, but probably not the most desirable option.
Be better than nothing, though. Keep the water out of it.
Right, that's a
Yeah.
big thing right
Everybody
there.
does crack filling.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
County does.
Everybody does.
Everybody
crack-
does it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have the equipment,
Yeah, we do.
We do have the equipment.
do we?
We contacted Steve Bacon to give me a budget price for doing the work that we wanted, and he responded that it would be $7,500, which I thought was
Cheap.
cheap, not for the design work, just for a concept plan.
Oh,
This is for our city hall renovation?
And I mean, that's in my, that's more than double what I thought it was going to be. Just,
I thought that was the whole design.
you know, that would be cheap.
Okay.
So I
So
did not
that's-
pursue that.
Right.
And,
So that, for that amount of money, you get what?
lower the ceilings, put a door here.
No, I mean, when you say
It's
just
a
the concept, so
concept.
that's just some artist renderings and a list of what?
Yeah, but no specifications, no.
So what are we required to have if we proceed with a project like this?
Well, in order to get design done, we have an obligation to do competitive, put out a request for qualifications and select somebody and get it done. Honestly, I mean, I talked to the staff, other than the police issues that Eric has addressed, I think because his plan, people in the front don't feel that their workstations are inadequate in terms of where they're located, how much space they have, how they work together. They all kind of like it. I don't think we need to worry about that, right? The mayor mentioned lowering the ceiling in the office in order to not have to heat all that space. Well, that's something that can be done without an engineer. Put in LED lighting, again, doesn't require engineering. Coming up with a foyer improvement, you know, can be done with that kind of using the same skills that Gary used when he helped Eric put his plan together. So I really don't think we're going to need an engineer unless, you know, we do some major modification. I'd like to see a hard ceiling in the file room, so it's fireproof, which that's just something you can do. I think we can proceed if you want to proceed, just kind of using our internal resources and doing what we think needs to be done.
Well, my questions were, you know, like ADA compliance and those type of things, you know, that,
Well, that's part of kind of what Eric looked at with the new entrance.
right.
Yeah, that was considered in that bid process.
Finally, at that meeting, the Chamber of Commerce officials asked the mayor and I to stay for a meeting. Our tourism website has been maintained through the contract that the chamber has with the webmaster, the guy who's maintaining the website. And that's an arrangement that predated me and survived some changes. They are no longer going to use that person's services for their own website. They hired another company. I think today their new website went online. So So we have to consider what we're gonna do, because we're gonna have to contract with somebody, not on the basis of reimbursing the chamber for the service, which is what we've been doing. So Sandra, who's out of town today, has been informed of that, but you can look forward to hearing from Sandra and me on a recommendation for entering into an agreement with someone, maybe the guy who's doing it now. I mean, there's no reason why he can't continue to do it under a contract with the city. But we just gotta look at what the numbers are and figure out what we have to do. Now, right now, we're paying $960 a quarter for the service. I have no sense how competitive that is in today's market. We'll just have to find out. That's it. Thanks. Bob?
Your second last item here, this list of 216 properties. Have concerns about that. How did we come up with the list and who did?
Officer Pollock was charged when he was on light duty with the responsibility of driving all the streets of the city, taking pictures and making a list, and was informed of what the property maintenance standard was, and putting together a list of properties that appeared to him to be deficient. And that's not the final word, and certainly isn't the definitive word, but he covered everything. I mean, he took pictures and properties that were just kind of minor in nature and those that were significant. So it's going to be up to the code enforcement staff to use their expertise to refine that list to the ones that need attention. It won't be 216.
Just worried about the backlash from sending out 200 plus letters.
There will not. That won't happen.
So how many?
That's what in the next 2 or 3 weeks. That's what they'll be doing. 100 and a handful. No, but 100 and a handful of letters will not go out. I mean, we're gonna do it kind of worst ones first, kind of work our way down the list. I think there will be backlash even if we send out 30 letters.
Right.
But we discussed that when we decided to proceed.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Eric?
Oh, wait a minute.
Wait a
Greg,
minute.
hold off.
Holding up.
Yeah.
Also, in that meeting with the chamber, they informed us that the chamber board has decided that they can no longer sponsor the fireworks.
Boy, you are just killing the celebrations in this town.
And asked if there was something that we could do as a city, not to necessarily pay for them, but at the time put together a coalition that would keep the fireworks program, 4th of July fireworks program going.
We're just made of money, sure. You know,
No, they didn't say they didn't expect us to pay for it,
oh,
but
I think they do a lot of fundraising for it.
they do.
Yeah.
And she said, I'll make all of my information available to you. She basically said, would the city do the work of fundraising, or somebody, maybe the city sponsors that the chamber had been doing. I obviously didn't answer that question, but since the mayor reminded me, I needed to bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're full of good work today.
So the citizens.
Humbug.
Huh?
You want to hear about my other problems?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Eric. Go ahead,
We
Eric.
can check with the ATF. Occasionally, they come and do a controlled
Yeah.
detonation
Yeah.
of some of their explosives that they seize, so we can try to coordinate that with 4th of July. It may not be much to see, but it sounded pretty loud.
coordinate our heads exploding.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not. I don't have much to report. I've got my calls for service there, as I normally do. We're still at full staff. We do have both cars in service now. I appreciate the support on that. We did wreck one of the new cars in the ice, but with former Alderman Stupi's help, we were able to get that back on the road for just a few $100s, and it's back in service. And it was unfortunate, but you know, it's one of those things that happens in the ice, and you know, we're certainly encourage our guys to drive carefully and limit the amount of driving they have to do in those inclement conditions. But he did receive a call for service and was responding to that. Like I said, nobody was hurt, and the vehicle's back in service for just a couple $100 repair, and there was no significant body damage. There was no body damage, but
I've been known to say, if you have a four-wheel drive vehicle and all four wheels are spinning, there's not
yes,
much you can do.
exactly. But luckily we didn't have too many incidents on the ice and no injuries that I know of. So everything I think is going well. Hopefully you guys are hearing the same. Obviously, as usual, if you hear anything you think we need to know, certainly forward it to us. But anybody have any questions?
Yeah, see, there's 24 things there with the suspicious act. What would be the definition of that?
It could be anything. Somebody gets a call of the IRS collecting on them, and they got to pay this money, or they're going to put warrants out for them, and they call it. It could be a suspicious activity. It could be somebody walking in the area that was looking in cars. Just there's a wide variety of things it could be.
Yeah, 'cause there's
Somebody sitting on a business parking lot or something that they just don't know what's going on. It's kind of a catch-all, kind of like a miscellaneous thing.
Seems like quite a few, 1 month.
Yeah, again, it's not, it could be one of our officers going out to talk to somebody at night, out with a suspicious subject or whatever. That's just where it gets categorized.
Where it gets cataloged.
And again, these are all through dispatch. These are the dispatch categories as we get them dispatched to us. So, it could be however the dispatcher wants to categorize that at the time.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Pardon?
Sandra is the victim of not having taken vacation last year. So she had a bunch of days that you either use or lose. We carried over a few of those, but she's on vacation, taking the advantage of that time to visit her granddaughter in Florida. So her report is before you. I can answer her questions. The chocolate walk appears to have been a success. There's an item there on the National Park Service legislation. I don't know, does anybody have any questions about that? Have you been reading the paper and kind of know what's going on with that? No? Okay. As you know, the House of Representatives approved a bill that the Senate is considering two bills. One is a bill under the natural resources and whatever the word is, budget, and the other is approval of the park to the appropriations bill. So it's kind of two things going on in the Senate at the same time. There was a hearing on the bill that was in front of the Natural Resources Committee, and the Deputy Director of the National Park Service spoke in favor of the St. Genevieve and I think, I don't know the exact number, but less than 20 other proposals. But said, we're having trouble keeping up with what we have, so adding new parks is always a problem on the budget. A lot of people kind of heard the last part of that presentation and not the first part where he said, we think St. Genevieve is a good idea. So that's still proceeding, but also proceeding is the appropriations bill. And in conversations with the senator's staff, they still are very positive about the future of this approval on the Senate side. So it appeared everybody was kind of like, oh no, it's kind of negative, and it was a little negative, but we still think the chances are good that will go through. Anything else? Sandra has commented to the Corps of Engineers about the recreation plan. That'll be covered on the March 1st meeting. Okay.
Steve?
Good evening, everyone. Let's see here. Inside the water plant, there's a lot of humidity, a lot of corrosion, a lot of stuff going on inside that building. Some of the pipe pedestals that hold up the 12 and 14-inch diameter pipe have taken a pretty good hit over the years. In the past 20-something years the plant's been there. We noticed one of the pipes was starting to sag a little bit, and we noticed the pedestal holding the pipe up was rusted. So we went around, did an inspection on the interior of the plant. We also found 5 more pipe stands that were rusted. So we immediately got a hold of someone and got the pipe stands replaced. Actually adjusted them back up to where they needed to go. So before there was a major problem. Let's see. Water meter down at the wastewater plant. That meter failed. It's about a $2,000 water meter. We went ahead and found a rebuild kit for it, and we were able to rebuild it for just under about $700. So, pretty good savings on that one. The industrial park lift station serves the Emerald side of Progress Parkway. We've continuously been getting a lot of rags in those pumps. The nursing home has voluntarily taken measures to catch the rags in their building before they leave the property. We have seen a little bit of an improvement there, but we're still catching rags. We put baskets in manholes upstream from the manhole, or upstream from the lift station to catch the rags before they enter our pumps.
Have they implemented their screen?
They haven't put their permanent bar screen in yet, but
Okay,
so they've
so they haven't really been fully implemented the plan yet.
They're reporting to me they've taken measures inside the building.
Yeah.
So
The ultimate measure is they're going to put a manhole and their own screen on their property that will catch it before it gets into the sewer system.
yes. The pumps out there at that lift station have been choked up with rags for, you guys have seen it in my reports for the past couple months. Every week we're going out there 2 to 4 times. So, but they are taking some measures to remediate the situation. And last but not least, everything that we do all year long comes out of a repair account. At the end of the budget year, the remainder of that is refunded to the city. So at this point, I'd like to give the city back their check for just over $2,000. So.
Some of you have not experienced that before.
Yeah. Now what we gotta do?
Pass it around.
We're going to build a water
It's
tower.
almost a water tower right there.
Let's go.
Is there any questions?
Steve, on those flags, there's no penalty or fine or no? Check.
This may be a question Martin can answer.
Well, I
Penalties
mean,
for rags.
there is a provision in the code that prohibits people from introducing anything into the sewer other than the waste that it's designed to accommodate. So yeah, possibly. But the better solution is to go to them and say, we have this problem and we need to solve it. And if you work with us on the solution to the problem, we'll all be happy, and that's what we're doing right now.
Do they have staff that's doing it, or
They say
A washer
that the
machine?
residents are embarrassed sometimes with lack of control of their bodily functions, and they flush things down the commode because they don't want the staff to see that they had an accident.
gotcha?
I have managed a couple of sewer systems over the years with nursing homes on them. It is a problem. It's always a problem. And I'm willing to accept the fact that residents do that, but I don't think that's the only thing that's happening. And I think Steve's saying that conversations with staff has helped mitigate the problem.
Steve, in your report here, you're talking about a well production has decreased from a normal flow rate of 875 gallons per minute to 650. Which well and where?
All of them. They're all located down there at the end of Market Street on the other side of the railroad tracks. We've been dry for months. We've continuously seen it go down a little bit at a time. It's leveled off, it hasn't changed. And that's just,
So that's due to drought.
Yes.
We are in drought conditions.
But as we discussed, I guess yesterday when we were having this, we benefit from having some good deep wells that are drawing out of reliable aquifers, but they do fluctuate based on the things that are happening above the ground. And that's what you're talking about here. Is that there's a drawdown on the water table, but it'll bounce back.
Okay,
all right?
thank you.
Thank you.
Committee reports? Joe, anything for planning and zoning? Very good. Any public comments? Sir, wait a minute.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I forgot to mention a while ago in my report that,
Thanks to Pam, she's already put our new application for the grant program on the city's website, and she has already contacted our regular applicants and let them know about the new application, so thank you, Pam.
You're welcome.
She's on it, ain't she? Woo, good job, thank you.
Thanks, Jenny.
Carl?
I guess I'll start out the way I used to do. Mayor, city administrator, alderman, my name is Carl Wiener. I live at 1158 Valley Spring Trail. I'm only got one thing to say. I talked to one of these aldermen. One of the commissioners said that they had this plan, I think, what he said. When their tax came out, the bond was going out, they asked for money because, it turned out to be a half cent. Well, when they got that half cent, then they come up with 1.5 cents because they was going to add a building on the side there for this and that and everything else. Well, that went. But then later on, this park thing came up. I don't think they had that in plan right then. So, I really don't know. I know a lot of people want this, but there's a lot of people that don't want it because it's going to end up with more taxes, and I'm tired of paying taxes. There's a lot of things I'd like to say, but you all got things to do, so thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Carl. You have the consent agenda in front of you.
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Very good. Motion carried. Have no old business. Under new business, we have bill number 4210, an ordinance of the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into agreement between the city of St. Genevieve and the city of the St. Genevieve Municipal Band. The first reading.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Is there no other business? Any communication? Joe?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Aye.